To be fair, Daz, every day that I've logged in, I've clocked in easily 3 hours on average each day. So I've had a good amount of time with this, but definitely once you get the hang of the game, I think pretty much anyone that sits down and plays through this, long enough to,
Operator, Orders wonders, what are you thinking about?
long enough to get through the first couple hours and have a little bit of time to practice with the mechanics. Well, practice with the mechanics and the mission types. Given enough time to practice, yeah, you could get in there and chop it up with the best of them. In fact, I'm going to show you a little something. So, in your, once you jump into your Warframes arsenal, and you decide to, say, open up their Appearance tab, this right down here, the Captura, I'd say that right there is going to be your best friend. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Now, the Captura, this is basically, the photo mode. Like a lot of the fan-made Warframe videos that you see on YouTube, like a lot of the really solid Warframe music videos that you see, a lot of the footage is taken from, going into the Captura and, messing with the settings and, performing certain actions that way. But what the Captura also is really good for is for providing you an arena to practice your movement. And movement is the catalyst. It is the linchpin of Warframe. At least from a mechanical standpoint, from a gameplay standpoint. So you're going to want to get used to moving around, moving the camera. You're going to want to get used to, knowing your speeds between just the standard run and sprinting. And then there's, of course, all the fun stuff. Jumping, double jumps, bullet jumping, and the various dodges and evades that you have access to. Oh, not to mention, wall running. After a certain point, once you get the hang of actually doing all this stuff in mission, you'll really be able to make it flow together to where, you can say you can go from a roll. You can go from a roll to a jump, or say, if you hold down the evade button, you actually do a slide. Jumping while you power slide, that pretty much immediately gets you into a bullet jump. And then from bullet jumps, when I'm not breaking my ankles, from bullet jumps, you could link a double jump for extra height, or if you're going laterally, you can link together a slide. You could, again, double jump, and that will get you extra lateral distance as well. Or, another neat little trick, when you're aiming down the sights of any of your firearms, if you do so while you're in mid-air, that has you glide. Basically, Matrix bullet time glide. And you'll see just from what I was doing in that mission and what I'm doing here, linking these moves together in various ways is going to get you around places super fast. And with certain Warframes, like I think Banshee's definitely one of them. Banshee is a Warframe that is designed to stay airborne and just unload on any enemies that are on foot. And this is before, getting into stuff like the Arcwing, which I'm pretty sure I can't deploy here. Thought so. And again, just getting in enough practice and enough time, just getting used to how your Warframe moves, that's going to benefit you greatly. And the great thing about double tapping for the evade in midair is that you can basically use it to change your direction on the fly. So it allows for some really tricky repositioning that you can have a lot of fun with. Now, the other thing about getting accustomed to your Warframe is also going to be getting accustomed to what abilities they have. Now, right now I'm only at rank 9 with this one, so I don't have all 4 of her abilities opened up. But with Mirage and her Prime variant, for example, as I'm sure you can tell just from the look, she's definitely got a trickster Harlequin kind of appearance, right? So you're going to be doing a lot of things like using her Hall of Mirrors ability, which loads you up with doppelgangers, or as I like to call them, strike shadows. Now, the thing about your strike shadows is while they're out, they're equipped with the same gun that you have. So imagine having, instead of, say, this semi-auto crossbow, you've got, I don't know, a shotgun or a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher. Step into the Hall of Mirrors, and then you've got multiples of your Warframe with that same gun. Or with the same melee weapons. Or with your same secondary sidearm. Anything that you're equipped with, the doppelgangers are going to have, and while they will do less damage compared to your normal shots and strikes, it's still extra damage that's going to get piled on. So you can most definitely take advantage of it. Her second ability, if you saw that little grid that just shot out, what that does is basically turn any item boxes in the area, it turns those into explosives, and there's a little light from them which basically attracts enemies. So they're gonna make their way towards whatever you've got tagged with this ability, sleight of hand. Enemies are going to make their way towards that. They're going to want to open the chests or pick up the items and thus get themselves blown up. Now, another basic trick to getting used to your Warframes is, keeping tabs on not only how your movement can chain together, but how your abilities can chain together as well. Because if you're just running solo, then yeah, you're probably going to want to rely on chaining your abilities together to really, to really set a pace that's your own. Every skirmish you get into, you want to set the pace so that way you can lay down whatever fire you need to, take whatever cover you need to, or disengage when you need to. And there are going to be points where you will need to, especially at the start of the game. With Mirage, for example, you do Hall of Mirrors, and then Sleight of Hand, and that allows you to set up more explosives for more item boxes in the area, if you've got them available. Now, just really quickly, the third ability that she's got going for her, or at least the third one that I have unlocked, Eclipse. This is an interesting one because it kind of plays off of the environment. If you're standing any place that's lit, then you see that yellow aura around her, that means she'll do extra damage. But with Eclipse, if you step into darkened areas, optical camo for better stealth. Now let's see if I can actually... Oh, well, I'll be damned. I actually can change my arsenal layout in here. Good. Let me go ahead and jump over to Classic Mirage. Where's she at? There we go. Now, with Classic Mirage, I've already got her ranked up to level 10, so, well, I've got her ranked up beyond level 10. But still, what that means is that I have access to her fourth ability. I forget what the name of it is. There we go, Prism. Duh. Basic name. But yeah. Prism is her one direct offensive capability that's, a Warframe power as opposed to her weapons. It's a disco ball of death. Now, you'll see it bounce around, shoot lasers, kill things, and then when it detonates at the end, it casts a blind. So, you've got enemies blinded, which means you can sneak up on them, do a finisher, do tons more damage if they've already survived the prism. Well, if they've already survived the prism itself. Now, for, just for argument and instruction's sake, I'll go ahead and switch over to a different Warframe entirely for you. Maybe not this one, but it'll probably be better if I actually go with something like the classic Excalibur. Now, Excalibur is one of the 3 Warframes that you can pick up right from the start. You know, since you did say that... Yeah, you did mention that you already started the game. So, I think the question here... So I'd say the question here really is, which Warframe did you start with? Did you just go ahead and go Excalibur, or did you pick Mag or Volt? Ooh, excuse me. I mean, either way it goes, a lot of it's really going to come down to the same thing. You know, your movement options are basically the same. You know, you have the same core set of movement options between, you know, the bullet jumping, evades, rolls, sprints. Okay. Now, Excalibur could pretty much be described as the all-rounder, the rookie-friendly, you know, the rookie-friendly Warframe. Your abilities with this bad boy are going to be pretty straightforward. You know, you've got your AoE, you've got your targeted ability, radial blind, which is going to come in super handy, and then you have what's pretty much an offensive transformation ability with the Exalted Blade. Case in point. Slash Dash, again, you know, starts off as just a single target approach and attack for extra damage. But when you level that up, you'll actually be able to cause them to, you know, run up and attack more enemies. Second ability you pick up with him is going to be that radial blind. Now, that one is again more of a status ability, but radial blind is definitely going to come in handy when you get yourself surrounded, because then you can basically pick off targets at your leisure as long as they remain blinded. Radial Javelin's your AoE. The more enemies on screen, the more enemies that'll actually be attacked with energy blades that come up. You'll notice that, you know, nothing really happened when he stuck the sword in the ground. That's because no one was there. Radial Javelin's got its uses, but you will definitely be using more of it once you get later into the game when certain enemies start coming up, but I'd rather not spoil that for you. The last of Excal's abilities is the Exalted Blade. Now, it just starts with basically, you know, the power-up where he pulls out that specialized blade. But with every melee attack you fire off, it's going to fire off those energy crescents. Once you get to rank 10, this is going to be your chief damage builder. Sorry, your chief damage dealer. Now, I would say while that's a good damage dealer, if you wind up getting into a situation where you're actually playing on public as opposed to solo and you get yourself into a team, then yeah, Exalted Blade's going to be good for offense. Because you'll see enemies that show up with like blue fields around them. Those guys can basically cancel out most other Warframe abilities in the game with that field. Excalibur's Exalted Blade is pretty much designed to cut through that immediately. It plows through the fields, and it does significant damage while it's on screen. So, yeah, that basically covers it for, you know, your basic info drop on your starter Warframe, and also one of the advanced ones that you get later on in the game. Now let me get my setup back the way I had it, with this bad boy here. Now let me also go ahead and switch out back to and here we are back with Mirage Prime. Hey, I am more than happy to help. And here's another thing that's going to be a great asset. Another thing that's going to be a great asset for anyone that jumps into Warframe is, simply put, interacting with the community. Like, seriously, if there are two games whose communities I would highly recommend people, just interact with, especially if you're new to those games, it's got to be Monster Hunter World and Warframe. Two of the nicest, most welcoming communities I've found, and more often than not, you will find someone that has a hell of a lot more knowledge than even I have, that can give you plenty of good tips as far as just playing the game, especially with your chosen frame. Because I know that, like, real talk, I started with Excalibur, and for a while I thought that was just going to be the frame that I had to stick with for the entire game. Then I got the blueprints and unlocked Rhino. And Rhino, like, pretty much once you get your second Warframe, it turns into a whole new ballgame altogether. Because then you're basically figuring out, how does this Warframe move, and how is that movement going to link up with the new abilities that I have, or the new abilities that you have to experiment with. Let's see, we're coming up on 8 o'clock now, and we got a good 2 hours under our belt. What do you say we go ahead and take another pit stop to stretch our legs a bit? With that being said, I've almost got her to rank 10, so I think what I'm going to do, at least for tonight's stream, is finish ranking Mirage Prime up to 10, so that way I can get her 4th ability. So that way I could actually get the prism going. And then we might switch over to another Warframe and start leveling that one up. Oh! I'm sorry, in all that instruction there was one thing I forgot. And that's your Warframe's passive abilities, which are definitely going to come in handy as well.
Operator? Ordis wonders, what are you thinking about?
Where am I from? As in, like, you know, where I live right now? I'm in Texas. Oh, you're across the pond over in the UK. That would explain that. Well, hey, it's always cool knowing that I've got people hanging out who are literally in another part of the world from where I'm at. I mean, Jan, who's like he's basically the Warframe guru of all the regulars that we got here on the stream. Yeah, he's in Germany. Like, Jan's in Germany. Let's see. We've got folks in other parts of the U.S. like Florida, California, Washington. You know, other folks that are in Texas. We've also got a couple people who come in on some of the other streams, like say when I'm playing Dynasty Warriors. One guy that usually jumps in, whom I'm kind of sad that I haven't seen in a while, but we have a guy who usually shows up to my Dynasty Warriors streams who is from China. So when we're streaming Dynasty Warriors 8, he kind of pops in as like the pop-up video guy, you know, talking about the actual history that the Dynasty Warriors games are based off of and the different locations. It's let's just say we've got a pretty solid stable of folks that come in, and the way I see it, the more the merrier. Well, like I said, man, you are the Warframe guru in this stream. You know, when it comes to tenure, you're the elder statesman here. If that makes sense. Also, Huo Yuanjia, 1980. Good to see you in. Over 2,000 hours.
Tenno, there's a time-limited mission available. Check navigation.
If I gotta be real with you, Chief, Anthem hasn't really while Anthem looks cool, it hasn't really drawn me in. Yeah, if I were to get my hands on it, I might give it a shot, but I gotta say I'm definitely more partial to, you know, BioWare games up to and including Dragon Age Origins. Most of the stuff after that kind of fell off for me in terms of quality. But yeah, Jan, I think you pretty much hit it right there on the head. You know, a lot of a lot of games that I've actually put money into, especially last year, I had bad luck with buying games last year, so I'm very, very gun shy until I've seen someone else play the game whose opinion I trust, no questions asked. But anyway, that's enough jaw jacking from me for now. Like I said, I want to go ahead and take a bit of a break. Yeah, that's the funny thing, and that is the dumbfounding thing about this game. Everything that I've talked about as far as how each of the Warframes play, everything that I've talked about as far as grinding for lore and playing through the story, all of this is free. Everything that I have in this game, from the different Warframes to the weapons, free. Like, this is a game that, even though the grind is massive, the grind is also rewarding. Visible proof of your efforts right there on screen. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick break, get up and stretch my legs like I intended to about 10 minutes ago before I got caught on another tangent. So if you guys want to keep the stream up, just keep it locked right here, and I'll be back in a bit. And yeah, I'll be back in a few. All right. So let's... Stupid desk. Let's at least get in another good, let's say 30 or 40 minutes or so. But now that we've had our little impromptu,
Excellent armaments, operator. Please return
Covered in blood.
safe and sound.
now that we've had our little impromptu, rookie's field training guide, we're gonna go ahead and pop back out onto a mission. Oh, one more thing that... before I get to this next mission, one thing that's very likely going to confuse most people, or at the very least, something that might not seem so straightforward, is the Planetary Junctions. When you finish up what you need to on Earth during the start of the game, there's a couple ways you can go. But between each planet in the system, there's a junction, and for the junctions you got to complete certain goals, and once you go into that junction, you take on the specter of another Warframe. Now right here, the Mars Junction, this one actually requires you to complete quests and complete missions on an entirely different planet. So in that way, it's kind of guiding you back the other direction. So, you know, of course, if you want to get to Mercury, you gotta go through Venus. And if you want to get to Venus, you gotta complete the junction there. So for the Venus junction, you know, the quest that it has you complete, that's a story quest that you're pretty much going to finish up as you play through. Collecting mods, applying them to a Warframe or weapon, again, all standard stuff that you are going to complete as you play through the game. Heck, even upgrading the mod, that's going to do it for you too. And then, once you've pretty much completed all of the objectives there, then you get to drop into the junction, and it's kind of like a between stage boss fight. It's an intermission boss fight. But you load in, and don't worry about Doggo being stuck in the wall. There we go. You could say that, yeah, the game is never ending, because even when you complete the story and the cinematic quests that are available right now, even after completing all those, you can still basically continue through the game. You can continue leveling up whatever equipment, you know, whatever Warframes and weapons you have. You can complete raids. You can join clans, which can, at the largest, hold up to like 1,000 players in a clan, which is basically a guild. You know, you can join clans. You can you can take part in raids. You can go to the 2 open world areas that are in the game right now, like fully open world areas, and complete bounties and missions there to unlock more, you know, to open up more content for you to get access to. there's a lot to do, and how you want to go through the game's content is by and large left up to you to a certain point. I mean, heck, even after you complete Earth and hit this junction and make your way to Venus, the game is still pretty open-ended. So in a way, it's really about setting a goal for yourself. Like, what do you want to do, or have you seen an item that you want to get? The clan that I'm in is actually run by... Well, the clan that I'm in, I'm just an officer in it. I'm in a clan that's run by an old friend of mine who plays this game as well. But honestly, all you gotta do once again is just, you know, if you go to any of the planetary relays, which I'll show you after this, you can basically go to the relay and, you know, kind of just send a message out to the relay saying, you know, hey, I'm new, I'm looking to join a clan. Is anyone still looking for new members? And does anyone still want to, you know, help a rookie get his feet wet? And somebody outside apparently does not know how to keep their car alarm shut off. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the junctions. Now, once you complete the objectives, you can go to the junction. It'll have everything listed here, just in case you go here and you haven't completed everything. It'll remind you what you need to do. But once you're ready, you go up to the console, confront the Spectre. This poor rhino did not have a good time of it. At all. But once you actually beat the Spectre, then you go here and you activate the solar rail, which is pretty much your transport between planets, or your access to transport between planets. Now let's go ahead and jump over to... Well, let's go ahead and jump to a relay. Now, when you've got the game set on public, or even when you've got it set to solo, but largely it works a lot... It's a lot more effective when you have the game set to public. You're going to want to go to some place like the Strata Relay. Or, once you finish up with Venus and you make it to Mercury, you have the Lorunda Relay that's open. But I'll jump over to Strata real quick. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're solo or public. Ah, okay. Ooh. But going to the relays and going to the hub towns for the open world areas, those are going to be your two best options for you know, actually running into other players. And of course, running into other players means you get the chance to check out some of the Warframes they put together, and that alone might help you set a goal for yourself. Case in point, check this dude out. Whoever that first one was looking pretty fly in that top hat. But I mean, you will basically get to see Warframes of all shapes and sizes. See this right here, that looked like that was a rhino that was right there. If there are any around, which is why I also mentioned going to the open world hubs. The open world hubs are also going to be your best bets for running into and meeting new people. Now, since this one's the newest one that was literally just released in a major update, we're going to go ahead and jump into Fortuna. Now, even though this one was just released and it may seem advanced as far as, you know, the lifetime of the game, I think once you get yourself to mastery rank, I think once you get yourself to like MR2 or 3, you can basically make your way here. And once all of the Warframes actually load up instead of the default Excalibur shadows, then you'll get to see, again, some rad stuff. Yeah, it's not too actually, I think what it is that it can be made. It's simple, but it's not dumbed down. You know, it's not over casualized. Huh, that I did not know about rewatching the intro.
Don't bother me now. Talk to your supervisor. Oh, yeah, well, get over here. Contracts. Interested?
But yeah, as I'm sure you're noticing now that everyone's loaded in, there are, let's see, there are 37 unique Warframes in this game at this point, and with the next update to Fortuna, that number is going to jump to 38. But between the different armor pieces you can get for customization, the different skins, the different helmets, and then there's, of course, all the mods you can pick up to, you know, enhance your Warframe's abilities, the combinations are virtually endless.
Credits for dishonest work. Keep your voice down. I got a cover to maintain.
And with all that, trust me, your experience with this game and the Warframes that you build are going to be as unique as your own fingerprint. Yeah, 38 core Warframes, and this is not counting the Prime variants, which a good number of them still don't have. So yeah, the roster is going to keep expanding.